Hi there, welcome back to Histo with Ale. Today we're going to talk about non-aqueous fixative and transport solutions. Non-aqueous fixatives. So, what are non-aqueous fixatives? Basically, they are fixatives that don't use water, like acetone and alcohols. These work by coagulating proteins, which helps preserve certain structures. They are great when water-based fixatives could damage or dissolve delicate things like glycogen, enzymes, or crystals. Acetone is a fast-acting, especially at cold temperatures. It has been used for enzyme studies and in rabies diagnosis on brain tissue. You will also see it in frozen sections when staining cell surface antigen. But acetone can cause a lot of shrinkage and distortion, so we really only use it in special cases. Alcohol works by breaking hydrogen and ionic bonds, which makes protein precipitate and remove water. This makes tissue more reactive to stain. We often use alcohol for smears, touch preps, and when we need to preserve water-soluble elements like glycogen. There is also alcoholic formalin, not purely non-aqueous, but worth mentioning. It combines the benefits of formalin and alcohol, preserving glycogen really well while causing less shrinkage. Both ethyl and methyl alcohol are toxic if ingested. Methyl is much more dangerous. It can even cause blindness and death. Carnoy solution is a rapid-acting fixative used in cytology because it lyses red blood cells, provides good nuclear preservation, and retains glycogen well. However, it causes significant tissue shrinkage and hardening. Fixation should not exceed 4 hours, as prolonged exposure can damage the tissue, and it should be only used when preserving specific components that are typically lost during routine fixation. Tissue processing should follow standard dehydration steps through 95% alcohol, absolute alcohol, and silane. Alternatively, it can begin directly with absolute alcohol. Carnoy solution is composed of absolute ethyl alcohol, chloroform, and glacial acetic acid. Metharcan solution is a variation of Carnoy's fixative that uses methyl alcohol instead of ethyl alcohol. It results in less shrinkage and hardening compared to Carnoy, and it is preferred by some histologists for its gentler effect on tissue. Clark's fluid is one of the oldest fixatives still in use. Clark's fluid consistently ranks high for preserving microanatomical detail under light microscopy compared to other fixatives, and it is especially effective for paraffin processed tissue. It must be mixed fresh just before use for best result, and it is composed of absolute alcohol and glacial acetic acid. Now let's talk about transporting solutions. For short-term holding or short-distance transport, place the tissue on saline moistened gauze. Seal it in a tight plastic container and keep it on ice. Please do not soak the gauze. In my experience, I have used this method when we want to transport a muscle biopsy to another lab. For longer storage or long-distance shipping, especially by mail, use Michael transport medium, which is commonly used for kidney biopsies, but not recommended for muscle biopsies. However, long-term exposure to Michael solution may lead to increased autofluorescence, which can interfere with certain fluorescence-based staining methods. Michael's medium is commercially available but can also be prepared in the lab. Michael's transport medium is composed of several reagents. Some of them are a little bit hard to pronounce, but I'll do my best. It uses a type of citric acid, anhydrous citric acid, which helps keep the pH at the right slightly alkaline level, so that the delicate proteins, especially those in immune complexes, stay stable during transport. Ammonium sulfate stabilizes tissue-bound immunoglobulins. Ethylmeliamide is like a stop button for certain enzymes that would normally break down proteins in the tissue. Without it, those enzymes could start digesting the sample after it is collected, damaging important structure. Magnesium sulfate mainly acts as a stabilizer for cell structure and proteins, and distilled water. It is critical to maintain the pH of the transport medium between 7.0 and 7.2 to avoid inconsistent results. If you plan to freeze the tissue, you should wash gently in 3 8-minute changes of phosphate buffer saline or PBS with 10% sucrose. PBS with sucrose is preferred over citrate buffer for rinsing, as it makes tissue section easier. To make PBS working solution, you would need first the stock solution that is composed of potassium phosphate, diabasic, sodium phosphate, monobasic, and sodium chloride. Then, to prepare the working solution, you would need the stock PBS solution, distilled water, and sucrose. Remember to store the prepared PBS at room temperature, and if you want to store the tissue in this solution, the tissue will remain stable for about 2 weeks without compromising immunofluorescence or immunohistochemistry results. To end, always remember all chemicals mentioned in this video must be handled with great care and respect. Follow your lab safety protocols and comply with OSHA and other regulatory guidelines to ensure a safe working environment. Safety first, always. And for more detailed explanations and examples, be sure to refer to the Frida Carson textbook. And if you're following along, do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe so you do not miss the next episode. Thank you.